Welcome, everyone. Today in the studio, quote unquote, we have Dr. Joern Rickert, who is currently the CEO of Neudio, previously was the founder of CorTec, and overall has been really pioneering mental health and also in terms of brainwave modulation and how even now we can get music out of our brainwaves, I believe. Do you
Yeah,
want to maybe get
thanks.
it started?
Thanks, Neil, for having me here. Um, yeah, I'm very excited about Nudio. Yeah, that is something that is truly revolutionary, and hopefully this will finally enable neurotechnology to benefit like really many people, and be it for treatment, but also just for daily life.
Yeah, of course. And I guess to get started, one thing I wanted to ask is what really drove you to really, I guess, get into Nudio and I guess bring the disciplines of like academia with neuroscience to then entrepreneurship, I guess going from CorTech to where you are now.
Um, yeah, I think that is the CorTec is going for implantable closed loop modulation of the brain uh, for therapies, helping patients with a really bad disease. Otherwise, you wouldn't get an implant. And it's a fascinating technology. Um, but it's also tough, getting implants. It's a novel implant, getting everything working, the regulations, and then finally the market and getting products approved. That's big challenges. And when Andy Jackson, the inventor of the Nudio principle, whom I've been knowing for a long time, showed to me the results that he obtained, um, I was really feeling uh, a bit laughed at with all the attempts from CorTec, because it showed, well, you're building all these implants to modulate the brain. But look here, I just need to listen to music
Yeah,
to achieve similar results. Now, mm, that is from the potential really enormous. And having the option to do all this non-invasive, you can be faster and many more people could benefit from it. So I really like that idea. And so I started working with Andy and moving this forward since, more than a year now.
gotcha. So I guess from what I'm understanding, you've personally found that working non-invasively has just been a much better experience in terms of both market outcomes, but also the prospects, what you can do.
I think so. I mean, I think implants are great from their technology, and if you are excited by the latest, or how all this technology works together, having electronics implanted in the body, and power supply, communication, and then being able, of course, to tap very closely to the neurons. That has a lot of advantages when it comes to precision. It's fascinating, but on the other hand, from the applicability and the marketing perspective, I think it's really tough. I mean, look out there, how many successful implants are out there, or active implants, not like bone replacement, active implants or neuro implants. It's even if you look at Parkinson, which is a big success story, it's probably only about 10% of all Parkinson patients who could benefit from an implant are receiving one. So it is tough. And I was just, after working for CorTec with all the startup preparation for probably something like 15 years, I was also really excited doing something new. So I ended up working for this, from my perspective, high potential and much faster to achieve product.
Gotcha. All right. So I guess going off of that, one question I also did want to ask is on the news, obviously you have big names like, Neuralink, Synchron, Precision Neuroscience, these big names that are working specifically in the invasive department. And especially with challenges that Neuralink recently revealed that the electrodes recently receded, less signals potentially being able to be modulated or worked with. Would you consider that that would be kind of, I guess, expected when you're working with invasive neurotechnology, and that also contributes to why it's much harder to work into?
Um, yes, especially for the Neuralink technology, that is the big risk. These very fine electrodes, will they last? Will they be stable in the body? Will they be stable when they are used for stimulation? So CorTec had another approach of having a more established, robust technology and using novel manufacturing methods to make the electrodes smaller. But it's another approach. And there are many challenges when it comes to putting something in the body that should work electronically stable. And so we were kind of expecting this. So it is different kinds of implants that are out there, and it has a reason why the existing electrodes for be it spinal cord or Parkinson, these are relatively massive devices. Just because not only surgeons, okay, Neuralink, you have a robot now, okay,
The robot,
maybe.
yeah.
Then it's the robot, okay, he may be gentle, okay. But you somehow have to handle it, and the body is not gentle to these things too, and there are movements, and even in the head, the brain is kind of in this liquid bubble. It's moving around in your skull, and so there are forces being exerted on this, and when you make things finer and finer and smaller, that's of course a critical thing. The body also likes to digest foreign material, encapsulate it, absorb it, all these kind of things. And I think eventually this will be solved. You have some whatever clever biopolymer coating an electrode that the body falls in love with the electrode and is gentle to it. But it's challenging. And I mean, if I were Elon Musk, I would probably also go for an implant. It's just, really cool. But you need a lot of money. And one problem with CorTec, retrospectively, I would say, we were really naive in terms of the amount of work and money that we need. And one would need to spend a bit more or, do it a little bit differently. No, I mean, that was all fine. And it's just talking about Neudio and auditory non-invasive modulation. It's something I want to try out, and it will not take 10 years until we know whether this is a really good product or not.
Gotcha. So I guess if we explore more of the Nudio side of things, that transfer going from non-invasive, or I guess focusing on the non-invasive side of technologies, how would you consider that it's been much easier to work with? Obviously, I assume you don't have all of the challenges we just discussed.
Yeah, I mean, non-invasively, the challenge is primarily the signal stability and the signal resolution. So obviously, non-invasively recording from the surface is not possible for many applications where you need specific high-quality signals. A brain-computer interface done non-invasively will likely always only yield some simple information and be subject to noise. Yeah, at least unless there is not a novel technology, than the EEG coming up. However, with Neudio, the advantage is that we don't have such strong requirements. So what we need is we need to sense your brain rhythms, right? And if there is an artifact in between, and for some time the signal is corrupted, that's not a problem, and the brain rhythms are something that is more easy to decode than like the information encoding a specific arm movement or even my language. So we don't need to, and we also don't want to decode these very specific informations. We just need to tune the music to your brain rhythms. And that is where the EEG is really good at. And when I talk to friends working on EEG sensing devices, these are getting better and better. Also including the artifact reduction. So making the wearable EEG sensors, like the one I'm wearing here, is a simple dry sensor, homemade. It'll cost probably something like $40, if we buy all the component and let it assemble somewhere. So it's getting cheaper, and the artifact reduction is getting better. And then there is essentially a lot of hardware out there. And I think essentially for our purposes, it's kind of a sweet spot where we don't see hardware related risks, or we are not sure whether we'll get the technology working. So
Okay. So from what I'm getting, as you said, it's this nice sweet spot where you're able to get, I guess, the results you want to see or you would like to see in in a short potential amount of time, with also having it be somewhat practical in a sense.
Exactly. I mean, it's just very simple to set up, to record the type of signals we need. And and then of course we have our proprietary processing and the proprietary music generation. This requires some processing and algorithms, and whether you call them AI or not is something I leave to the taste of the listener. But also, that is something that nowadays can be done by personal computers, even smartphones with some pre-processing. So you don't need supercomputers. So the hardware is out there, and both from the processing side and from the brain sensing side.
Okay, understood. Now, if we go more into, I guess, kind of the signaling processing side of things, how would you feel that's kind of evolved over the past couple of years, and overall the field has become much easier to work with, would you say, in a sense? Or are there more challenges you've been encountering as you've gone through it?
No, I think from the signal processing side, it's no, I mean that I didn't see that. That's the field I've been doing in science. So I've been working on decoding brain signals from EEG, ECOGs, LFPs, spikes from animals and humans. And so nowadays there is a lot of automation going on, and you can use, artificial neural networks and whatever. My experience is that if you have something that you can decode rather simple, without big artificial neural networks, it's probably the better thing, because you know what you need, and you will get more significant results. If you need to use high-end machine learning to get the result, then it may be pretty weak. My experience was that the method did not make the big difference. I think the big difference is more on the quality of the data that you get and the amount of data that you have for training. but essentially the quality. Is it really high quality data? Even the implant that sends out the data, how good is that data? What is the signal to noise resolution of the data? If you have EEG in addition, how much artifacts are in this data? Getting brain data clean and strong and pure, that is challenging, be it an implant or non-invasive.
Understood. Okay. So specifically for Nudio, then, how has that process been for you of trying to or wanting to iterate towards that quality brain data that would be really helpful in a sense?
Yeah, again, I mean, here the thing is that we don't need complex features or higher order features. So maybe in the future we could make our product even better with it. But for the start, all we need to do is get a good grasp on the ongoing brainwaves of the subject. And that, I think, is with most of the available EEGs out there possible. And then even if there are some artifacts in between, our algorithm is robust enough to work. It's not the way we've designed it. It doesn't matter if you blink in between or have some movements in between, as long as from time to time your brain oscillations can be read with the EEG, and these are pretty robust to decode and extract. So
Understood. So,
yeah.
sorry, go ahead. You were saying something.
No, I mean that is the reason why it is a sweet spot, and it's much easier than a BCI. A BCI needs to extract a lot of information from the brain and train the brain, decode in a meaningful way. Our intent is not on decoding the brain and using the brain activity for anything that is related to thought. We're going the opposite way. We use the brain activity to modulate and change itself via our little loop around music.
Yeah, understood. Now, I guess going a bit on that, what would you consider to be, I guess, the main future forward impacts you want to see through Nudia? For example, do you want people to achieve like a better mental well-being through music they hear by themselves, or what is the intended effect you'd be looking forward to seeing?
Yeah, we want to start by giving everybody the ability to optimize his or her brain activity during daily activities. Like when I'm working, I would want to use it to improve my concentration or attention. Whereas when I'm relaxing, I want to improve my relaxation effect or use it for sleeping and getting a better sleep or falling asleep easier. So these are like the basic use cases, and then from there we want to go further towards more medical applications related to pain and depression and all the things where we already have a lot of data and studies supporting that if you can modulate your brain activity in at this frequency in this area, it'll give you some relief. And so that will be the next step then, to make it more specific to also help people with diseases.
Understood. Okay.
Take this,
Right.
go and improve this whole really bad mental health situation that seems to be worsening. And our vision is that Neudio can help with that.
Yeah,
And
definitely. Because one of the other questions I also wanted to ask you about is other companies, for example, Neurable, they're working with their headphones to modulate focus with the same kind of headphone EEG technology and using this data to help enhance cognitive performance. How would you consider that Nudio, I guess, separates yourself from them and you're able to provide something that they can't, or where do you see yourself leading the landscape in a way?
Yeah, I think the big difference is that Nudio is really closing the loop. And so most companies are more um, helping the user to train their brain, to achieve certain states. And, whereas opposed to that, for Nudio, you don't need to actively do something. So we're detecting your brain state, and then we're adapting the music such that your brain state gets modulated and into a direction that you chose, and that works instantaneously. And it's a direct closed loop modulation, and there are not many companies out there doing that.
Understood. So I guess from what I'm getting, you see that that really would set Nudi apart going into the future.
Yeah, it's two things. It's this direct closed loop modulation that we do. That is mostly done with implants so far. For example, the CorTec implant, is using a very similar approach, but there it is in the brain. It's using electricity to stimulate brain waves, supposed to improve stroke rehabilitation. And here this is a similar closed loop approach. And what is also unique, and of where I don't know any other company doing this, is that we do this closed loop modulation with music. So it's something that also is actually nice. It sounds nice. It's not now, okay, my music is currently not playing here via Zoom, but we have an example on our webpage, and there are more to come. We just started working with the first, artists there, providing them our tools. So to make this entirely new music, in the sense that it's a personalized music that sounds different every time you listen to it, it sounds different from listener to listener. Although it's relatively subtle differences. It's not like if you have a certain melody or a voice, there are elements so that you can recognize your music. But I think that that's really a big difference, that you don't have to go to the clinics. You can listen to music of a type of music that you like, and get this benefit. So I think that's really the big difference. So if I have a product that, I need to, whatever, wear, and it shuts my eyes off, or I need to concentrate, look at a screen and try to move that little bird up the ladder. I mean, it's kind of nice to do it from time to time, but if you really want to have something that you can use during your daily life and your daily routine, not all the time maybe, but for a couple of hours every day for certain activities, I mean, then it needs to be something that is more subtle. I mean, it's like, I think that's one reason why pills are so far much more successful than neurotechnology, because a pill, I take it, then I can continue with whatever
That's it.
I want to do normally. It's just take it and you get the effect. Whereas, I don't need to get an implant. I don't need to train or look at a screen. So this kind of user friendliness and usability, and to make it very easy to use, even maybe give you some, pleasurable effect because it's music you like. I think that's the way to go on the way to a more widespread use.
Understood. All right. And I guess I'd like to say in that way, it's more natural in a way. It feels more personable to you, human as well.
Yeah, I think also. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
From the music. No, it's good. Thanks for the comment.
Oh yeah, and again, unfortunately, it looks like our time is coming to a close. But I guess the last question that I really wanted to ask you of is, in looking at the future, what would you really hold that Nudio has in store? And I guess us looking on the outside in, we should know. For example, I would like to say that around 3 weeks ago, Steve Milborn and uh,
Yes,
I
Sarah.
sorry, Seraphin Pikolov and yeah, as well, they joined the team. What do you really think is really shaping up for Nudio to be?
Uh, well, yeah, I mean that was very important that we had Steve and Sarah joining. So Sarah is closing the gap of actually being the tech guy who knows how to build the app. So I mean our product that we are building is a very simple to use consumer app where you can select your music, and then it works, with an increasing number of headbands like the ones I'm wearing, or hopefully in the future, Apple will really integrate EEGs in their earbuds, so that many people have a very comfortable and a way to use
Yeah.
it now. And then Steve is the connection to the music industry. So he's a musician by himself, and I mean is working with many artists, and so he knows how to generate the music that we need, and also he has a pretty nice experience from his career as a creative director at Sony, where he even spun out a startup company out of Sony Music that was a music inspired video game. So
Oh,
yeah, that's a great team, and we needed these two people to execute what we want to achieve. But yeah, obviously that's the start, and now we are coming into the phase where we want to raise seed funding to actually develop first product. So we don't need much funding for it, but we need a team of engineers, a small team that builds a good app, and we need to invest into having a nice first basis of music available. And again, compared to an implant, it's so much less, and it has so much bigger market potential that I'm very optimistic that if we talk like in a year ago, I can show you, and you could start, or you could start using it actually. At the moment, you would need a computer and Ableton music generation software, and either a Muse headband or this kind of headband here. Yeah, but in a year, you will be able to just use your smartphone and at least one more headband.
gotcha. Well, again, I know for a fact I'm definitely looking forward to what you can do in the future, and I'd love to try it out for myself. But once
Yeah.
again, thank you so yeah, once again, thank you so much for joining. And yeah, as I said, thank you for being here. Been great talking to you.
Yeah, thanks, Neil. And yeah, all best of luck. And yeah, let's go for an update in a year.
Sounds good. All right. See you then. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.